Us, there is another strike in the Senate.
Breaking news?
Yeah, breaking news. Senator Natasha has lost her seat as the chair of the committee in the Senate. She's going to be resuming as just ordinary senator. If any senator is ever ordinary. So, I mean, how do we put it this way? Are these people never tired of distorting the system? Just in February here, she was removed as the chair of the local content committee. And another one in the space of, say, call it 5 months or thereabouts.
When she's about to resume.
When she's about to resume. Are they not tired of distorting the system and creating disturbances here and there?
Well, I have a different view because the Senate is an institution of its own, and they have their way of running their affairs. It is the practice of the legislative arm, from time to time, to change the chairs of committees. What they try to do is to bring in the best hand to share the various committees for optimal performance. But what doesn't sit right with me here is Senator Natasha has been on suspension, and the court just ordered the Senate to reinstate her. And the country is still grappling with whether they are reinstating her, they are going to appeal or whatever. The next day we heard that she has been removed from her seat as a chair. That is what I'm not comfortable with, because it looks as if it's a vendetta thing, because if she has been on her feet and she's been on duty, and then you said you are doing reshuffling and all of that, it wouldn't be a news. But the fact that she has been reinstated and she's about to come back while you are waiting for your CTC and whatever it is before you reinstate her, is he a kind of punishment for her? Right. That, okay, fine, since the court said we should reinstate you, we have to strive you off your share. That is what I am grappling with.
So eventually you didn't have as much as alternative view from what I had. So it's still a disturbance.
Yeah, it's a disturbance, but again, we shouldn't just...
No, we didn't have the right to do it. We are not calling the right to do that. Section 60 of 1999 Constitution made it very clear. The Senate can regulate their proceedings and everything. And the right, even to suspend any of their members, lies with them. But again, those rights and that power they have from Section 60 of the 1999 Constitution is also controlled by Section 36, which gives right to fair hearing, even as much as their own standing orders of 2015, stipulating what can be done. It talked about for minor offenses, you can just tell somebody, oh, leave. You are not going to finish with us for the day. Instead of continuing with the plenary, they will ask you to excuse them for minor offenses. For some other ones, 14 days. Even though you stagger these 14 days, say 3 times, no, they normally sit for 3 times in a week. If you stagger it, across, you are not going to have any suspension more than 4-5 weeks. We were grappling with that. And we're grappling with a reinstatement, and now she's being suspended, not necessarily suspended, being removed outrightly to chair the committee that she was chairing.
Now, the issues are quite disturbing to me. I don't quite agree because, okay, let's take a sequence from how the thing happened. Somebody mentioned the committee chairman and the Senate president interrupted and said that has been changed. So it was not a case of something that was changed with other committee chairmen and announced to the House. And announced to the House that there is a reshuffling of committee chairman.
Many some people were not even aware. Some senators were not even aware.
They were not even aware. So it was like a unanimous agreement, decision that was made by the Senate president. And he now announced something in Sika that was now supposed to take the chairman of that committee. Now, my issues with, apart from most senates that we have had from the time of David Mark down the line, we've always seen most of the Senate president as rubber stamp. But this one is actually too obvious. We saw the Senate president on the side of David Mark, like a rubber stamp. Beyond a rubber stamp, there was nothing dynamic that they did that they opposed the president. Yeah. But he's still the tide in the Senate. The Senate was not as riotous or quarrelsome as it is today. I think the virtues of leadership should lie in the Senate president to carry everybody along. If there has been an issue in the Senate and it has even gone to the law, there should be a way at which the Senate president steal the tide and let everything move on smoothly. If not, it's the benefit of Nigeria.
Yeah, okay, Philip, I was in a radio program this morning as a guest at Max FM. It's a radio station, a kind of subsidiary of a TVC. And I was telling them basically that most people, that are in a position of authority do not understand the impact and implications of their actions. When for any action and you make another reaction that is disproportionate, you are going to have a residual action, which at the end of the day, that's going to keep spiraling, and you are going to have connectivities of various actions and inactions, spiraling into something that will make us look like we are in a chaotic situation. Oftentimes they do not even realize that for everything that looks as if our democracy is under threat, you cannot use your, publicity to tell foreign investors to come. These are the things they look after. These are the things that tell any any foreign investor, do I go to this place or not? How are they respectful of their own laws? How are they interested in their own democracy? Stability is important no matter how you look at it. That's why I was talking about this disturbance. Do you think this was the right time to remove this woman as the chair of the Diaspora and NGOs committee simply because they think there is another person that can do it better? Absolutely. Or sincerely you believe it's a political punishment?
Absolutely, this is not the right time. And I do believe that it's outright political punishment. What I feel strongly is Akpabio, as a Senate president, is trying to assert his authority, which he do not have. What he failed to realize is first among equal, they are all senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They just chose him to be the presiding officer, and it ends there. If the Senate so wish that today they are no longer satisfied with his leadership, they could do otherwise. Like he said, before now we have said, oh, the National Assembly, the leadership has always been rubber stamp. Now Nigeria has said what is truly rubber stamp. Now they can't even say whether this is or rubber stamp. Because when they have not seen rubber stamp, they were saying they were rubber stamp. Now that they've seen rubber stamp, their mouth has shut. So Akpabio is being vindictive, because I feel strongly that maybe they want to obey the court order. So what else? What other punishment can we give to this woman, this in quote stubborn woman? Let's take away her committee's chair. But not to worry. Natasha is always equal to the task. She will come. In the first place, she was not elected to the Senate to be a chairman of any committee. She was elected to the Senate to represent Kogi Central. And that she will do when she comes to the House. Whether you remove her as the chairman of a committee or not, it doesn't stop her from being a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. These men who are in offices should learn that power is transient. It doesn't last forever. There's a video or there's a picture making the round in the social media, showing how Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of the country, former head of state, prostrated before Ladoja, who is the next in line to build the law of Ibadan. And the story beside is saying that this is the same person Obasanjo orchestrated his impeachment as a governor for your state. Today is the one going there to prostrate for you as a traditional leader. So people should learn from other mistakes. Because you are a Senate president, it does not give you the right and power to punish your fellow senator just because they disagree with you. They to allow the voice of dissent in this country for crying out loud.
All right, that of Ladoja reminds me, when during that travel, it was Adedibu that the godfather then was quarreling with Ladoja, and a journalist came to Pa Adedibu and said, "Daddy, please, you people should take this thing easy. That when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffer." Adedibu said, Ladoja is not an elephant. What is Adedibu today? What is Adedibu today?
Yeah, exactly.
Life itself is even transcendent as we know it, except the life beyond that we do not understand. Okay, coming back to what we are saying, if you see the judgment of Muritala Nyako, it was simply issue of proportionality, which is actually where I started by having action, and when you have a reaction that is much more than the action, you are going to have a residual, and you see that she was talking about you being excessive in punishment. The judgment never removed Senate's ability to punish, to conduct their proceedings in orderly manner, because you can't go there and be misbehaving anyhow. Certainly, you are not going to do that. That would be a content of a legislative house that was dealt with in their powers.
But some have done anyhow. Like Omoyele carrying my list. I took it to Airport Road.
So certainly the Senate reserves that power to control,
discipline.
To discipline you, but it shouldn't deny your people, representation by any means, and it shouldn't be excessive. Now, we're grappling with that. Another thing coming on, removing her from her seat. And it was just done February from the local content. We had a lot of reports that certain oil infrastructures were located in a central, that is what do we call it? Senatorial district. Instead of, for Niger Delta region and all that, and maybe it wasn't what was meant for them or something like that. When she was moved to the Diaspora and NGOs Committee, people thought maybe it was a kind of punishment too. Do you think this one is another one? Because Natasha, I don't know her right to fight this, because if anybody does what he or she is authorized to do, you are almost not able to fight it through.
You see, they must realize at a point in time, Ibrahim came here the other day and told us how Khartoum, a modern city built over decades of time, has turned into robots. And that these kind of things are what brings about anarchy in society. When it's being done, it looks dictatorial. Because as it is right now, it has become of a sort a dictatorial Senate president that we have, that you cannot even talk on the floor of the House.
But in this case, he has probably done what he's authorized to do. That is why it's difficult.
You see, in being authorized to do what you have to do, you also have to give a consideration to other people that are in the Senate.
The truth remains that...
Oh, hold on. The timing is wrong. Yeah. Do you understand? And these are things that make polarization in the House very obvious. And people...
Is it only in the House? You people are so concentrated in the House. Philip, let me come to you with this. I want you to add this at once. You're always concerned in the House, in the Senate. This is not in the House, in the Senate. It's in the entire country. I just told you that foreign investors, for example, rely on all this distortion to kind of measure our stability. But these people take actions. They don't even understand the level of impact their action gives to our economy, to our polity, even to our nation as a civil society. Do they really understand? Do they realize that we have chosen democracy?
Good question. That's where I was going to go to. We have said it on this table over and over that we have chosen democracy. Those who are the actors at the moment, do they understand the meaning of democracy? Now, coming to the issue of the House, like whether he has the right or the power, the rules of the House do not give the presiding officer express power, absolute power to appoint the committee. There's a selected committee for the selection of committee chairs, yes. And that includes the leadership of the entire Senate, which is the Senate president,
the majority leader,
and all the rest of them. I don't think there's any record to show that that committee sat and agreed that Natasha should be removed as a chairman of the committee's chair. That's the diaspora committee. There's nowhere in it. You see, in democracy, the question you said, the democracy says it's the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. What do they mean by that? It means that every person that is involved, that the action will affect, will be involved in taking the decision. That is why we elect them to the National Assembly to represent us. That's why they are representing constituency. That is why Natasha is representing the entire Kogi Central District. And now these people have been deprived for over 5 months. Their voice has not been heard. And now that they are trying to come back to democracy, you are the only thing they have in addition. You are taking it away from them on the flimsy excuses that you have power to allot committee or not to allot committee. You see, so when you say that this is the problem we have, and drawing from his analysis and your analysis, that this is what leads to anarchy in society, and this is what led to investors staying away from society. You are not far from the truth. So that is why it is difficult to understand whether the actors today understand what democracy is, because it is your action that we enable, we attract investors to your country. If your action shows that you are not democratically in nature, they won't come here because they can't bring their money when they are not sure. The money they are not secure.
They are not rule of law.
So it's sad.
All right. Somebody asked me today, looking at what the ordeal that Natasha is going through, at least part with respect to this being in the Senate, being expelled from the Senate. If it is a sexist thing, like the men being against women. We used to have about 8 female senators before. I think it's down to 4 or 3 now. So you see, that question becomes difficult because truth remains that why I felt the judgment, was good enough, repudiating the excessive, if I should use force, the excessive punishment. I think the court stayed away from applying any punitive measure
to the House,
to the Senate, because there are records, there are precedents. If you remember in 2018, Reno versus House of Reps, it was the same thing. Yes. They say, no, you can't give somebody a suspension arbitrarily without time bound. No, there's nothing. You can't do that. You can't prevent the people from he is representing from being represented. The same thing happened even earlier. The case between Jubril Abdulmumonin versus the House in 2017, and it also happened even in Dume's case in 2018 versus the Senate.
Even the Ningi's case that is very
happening.
Yes.
So when all these are decided cases, precedents, and the Senate team went ahead to do something like that, who would punish them?
The law should actually
do they do this because she's a woman?
No, yes,
because they have done it to men before.
Yes, exactly. It has never been done to a woman.
In some form. So
now,
can we now summarize it that it's because she's a woman?
No,
and who would punish this people?
No, most of the time. For example, I don't think it's being done to her because she's a woman.
I think
it's been done to her because she's in the opposition.
Because she has a dissenting voice.
She has a dissenting voice, and she plays by the book. You see, there's things you play by the book, and sometimes they try to subvert what you try to play by the book, or try to be activist in nature, whatever you call it. Now, who will punish these people?
Yes.
The law ought to punish them.
But no, hold on. If you notice, Natasha was found guilty of contempt of court.
Yes.
She was slammed 5 million naira.
2 dailies.
And was asked to publish.
And Facebook
that's
apology.
A punishment.
Yes.
But the court didn't met any punishment to the senator who had precedents before, but still went ahead
to do the same. Now, the court will tell you that didn't come on their table. Do you understand? Now, I don't know if it was part of the prayers of Natasha.
Let me tell you.
I know what you want to say.
Yeah.
That most of the time the court gives you more than what you ask for, so that they will not do it again. But I've said it. I said the rule of law.
Even there was application for this contempt of court. Yes. There was no request for 5 million specifically.
Exactly.
And it was slammed.
It was slammed. Do you understand? So that's why I would say that the judiciary itself must take its own rulings very, very seriously, and also make sure they follow up to make sure that things are melted out to people that don't follow.
Ruling very seriously. Philip, I'm coming to you then. Adara Modu, the spokesperson of the Senate, said there is no order from the court saying that they must reinstate, ordering them to reinstate Natasha. Expressly. That the court merely interpreted what is admissible, that the punishment was excessive. It's different from an outright and express order. He said it, as a matter of fact, he said that the ball is in the court of Natasha to first of all go and do those apologies and all that. Then the Senate will sit and decide on what to do. Very comfortably said.
You see, this is where we have issues. This is where the question you always ask come into play. Do we choose democracy for ourselves, or democracy was imposed on us? If we choose democracy by ourselves, then we should abide by the tenets of democracy. But here we are. The judiciary were meant to interpret law, and the executive were meant to execute them. This is judiciary, a dispute is brought before them. I wouldn't want to say that the judgment is one-sided, because I don't know how he came into that reasoning. If, like rightly said, if you found Natasha wanting in some area, you meted some kind of punishment on her. The area where you found this Senate to go excessive, what did you do?
What is the punishment?
So you cannot blame in this regard. You cannot blame the spokesman of the Senate because the judgment favored them.
Yes.
It is either they will choose to, reinstate her, or they will do otherwise, because the court merely said that, oh, what you did was excessive. If it is excessive, what next? The court never said. So who do you blame? So this is where the question again arises. Are we practicing democracy, or is a government of one man for the people and by the one man?
All right. I think let's step away from Natasha. Let's just probably use this opportunity to discuss what we saw earlier, those state election. Not against any expectation. Not against any expectation. It's more of it wasn't really a news to people that Okpebholo was, affirmed. Her position was affirmed by the Supreme Court. Not anybody, almost nobody in Nigeria expected.
How do you know?
I can tell you.
Just you by your own.
Most people didn't expect otherwise. Most people didn't. Were you expecting otherwise, Kingsley?
Not really, but. It's not only me that lives in this part of the world.
But I'm asking
the people that took the case to the Supreme Court were expectant and believing that there's going to be an upturn of some sort, either telling them to go for,
I'll go back to the trial.
Said yesterday that, look, he doesn't believe that 3 men or 4 men or 5 men should be sitting down over what millions of people have voted for. That what best could be seen is that either go and do a rerun or something.
No, I think I mentioned it to you that if I find my way to the Senate, that's the first law we are going to bring if it's not done before them.
How will you find your way to the Senate?
No, that's what I will show you. We'll go through our neck. You snatch it out.
So now what we have right now is that I would like to advise Senator Muhammadu Okpebholo.
Yeah.
He should concentrate on governance. As it is right now, the Edo people have been robbed of development and good governance for a while. I'm not a fan of Obaseki, because to me, I think Obaseki was very evil. He used politics to blindfold the people of Edo State, no matter whatever you think. Either you benefited from it or whatsoever. He paid salaries of civil servants, and we didn't see development in Edo State. I can tell you that I'm from Edo State. Now, I would advise him that he should leave PDP, APC, or trying to force people into his party, and telling us that he will give the president, is it 5 million vote or 2.5 million vote? Forget those ones. Edo people need development at this moment. What he's doing it well. I praise him, kudos to him, trying to make sure the roads are passable, Benin Auchi roads being a menace of sort, and also trying to make sure security is installed in the state, a state of sanity in the state. So that's what I would advise.
All right, Philip, going to election is not a joke. You start from deciding whether you are going to run or not. You finally conclude you are going to run. you seek for a platform, you get the ticket, a lot of night movement, day movement, you campaign, you go to election, you lose, you decide to go to court, and you pull it from the tribunal all through to the Supreme Court. I swear Ighodalo is probably not the happiest person at this second, and obviously he must have been tired in some faction. Do you think Muhammadu Okpebholo should be magnanimous in victory? Reaching out to Asue Ighodalo, say, okay, sorry, I know you lost, and I think you have some idea. Come together, let's work together. It's for the betterment of Edo State. And should Okpebholo do that? Do you think Ighodalo should, put the differences aside, come together, bring your ideas together, bring your men together, bring your resources together, and see how to move Edo State forward?
Well, it's a good idea if we ever witness such. In your opening speech, you said Okpebholo contesting election is not easy. What has happened? Ighodalo. What has happened to Ighodalo is Nigeria happened to Ighodalo, because that is Nigeria for you. Being magnanimous and inviting, Ighodalo over so that they can put their ideas together. They are brothers. They are from both Esa land. I think Ighodalo has fought a good fight if he really loves Edo State people, and Okpebholo extend that olive branch to him. He should accept it. It also depends on, the sincerity of Okpebholo extending that, olive branch. Because what we've seen in Nigeria so far, most politicians is winner take it all, and they are not prepared. They have this conquer mentality. So Ighodalo as a person is a technocrat, is a businessman. If you ask me, I will ask him to go back to his business and rebuild his business. Waiting for Okpebholo to invite him to build Edo State. Okpebholo has already had his own idea, his own dreams. I don't think he will need Ighodalo's idea at this point in time, especially now that Edo people are singing his praises, that is making their road passable and the rest of them. But Okpebholo Ighodalo to be a good sportsman. He should accept it in good faith and help to rebuild Edo State, especially his own Insalam. He who fights and runs away, he lives to fight another day. If he loses today, it might be his turn to win tomorrow. So he still have a chance. So if Okpebholo is so magnanimous and inviting, if he feels the invitation is sincere and there's honesty in it, I advise he accepted it. But the wise thing to do is to go back to his business and concentrate on his business.
All right. Just like what we said before, this is about Edo State, but essentially it's about Nigeria. We can't keep talking about how independent INEC should be. They have abandoned issues of electronic transmission of results, and at this time, it appears, from what we can see in the recent times, once somebody has, been announced by INEC, you are.
It's only in done. APC government.
It's done,
especially in this region.
But it was, PDP was more democratic in this sense, especially
because even in Edo State, yes. Professor Sumbo,
who
was doing well, yes, probably even doing better than Okpebholo, was removed for Adams Oshiomhole.
And Adams Oshiomhole was coming from an unknown party at that time, which was ACN. And ACN was not even as popular as ANPP in the north at that time. Do you understand? And he still won election. I remember the justice at the time, one Justice Abdullahi, and all that. I don't know if he's still alive now, that gave him that judgment. Now, if we look at what's happening right now, I think it's a shadow of what we talked about in the rule of law that Yar'Adua believed in. In his purview, he saw PDP lose a lot of states and a lot of grounds to opposing party that had more stronger arguments than them. Now, what they should do is they should also take, this is not politics. You always say that, look, rigging is not a strategy. or trying to subvert justice.
Because it's an illegal process.
It's an illegal process that people look into.
You see, this you just mentioned the justices that presided over the case between, Adams Shomole against Professor Sumbo of PDP. Is the reflection of what you see, what we just discussed in Natasha. You see the decision of the judiciary. You see it as it's not an independent decision. That's what is playing out in this government, in this APC-led government. The judiciary are no longer independent. It looks as if you read their judgment, it's so watery. It looks as if it's judgment written by the opposing lawyer for the court to just read to the public. That is why you cannot get true judgment. That's why you cannot see the judiciary being independent in their judgment. Because if ordinary Nigeria would say that every judgment they thrown out today, especially when they have to do with politics, is so watery. That judgment cannot stand the test of time. It cannot even be a precedent. Take for instance, Abuja, which supposed to be a vital component of electing a president, has been watered down by the decision of the judiciary.
All right, let's move a little bit away from that. I mentioned issues of foreign investors, the last time. We thought the way we do things, because there's something one of our presidential candidates said before, that if you treat the local investors well, foreign investors will hear and they will come. We thought that when you're doing things right, there are rule of laws everywhere, and we are serious with our democracy, we are serious with fighting corruption, we are serious with not using government as a way of becoming rich, rather than a way of serving the people, that those things are what will attract foreign investors. And when they see our stability, they see our transition from one tenure to another. But somebody like Reno Omokri has come out to say, no, it is Peter Obi lies that is chasing away foreign investors. That Peter Obi was lying about Nigeria's level of indebtedness, and those lies is what is chasing away foreign investors. Do you think?
There's a saying in Hausa land that says, if I say it well, it's okay, but I'm sure you get what I'm saying. Those that speak Hausa very well. It says, Gafili Gadoki. He said, look at the horse, look at the road, look at the rope. Now, everybody can see what's happening. Is there hunger in Nigeria? Forget Obi's statistics. And there are a lot of statistics chunking out from Nigerian Bureau of statistics that are in conformity with what Obi has said. This is not just about Obi. Sometimes Obi just re-echoes. Do you understand? Now, most of the things he's saying are at the macro level that has not rained down at the micro. We can't say that they are real. He said we are not owing debt, but we have collected more money. Do you understand? Now, you see, I don't think as a person that we should listen to somebody like Reno. Number one, I normally say, let Reno come back to Nigeria and live here. Number two, his inconsistency with what things he has said, even to this sitting president.
Oh, he abused Asiwaju so badly.
Not just only that he abused, he said he went to Chicago State University and that Asiwaju's name was not there. Then he applied for it. So there are things he has said. Now, his a violent or ferocious attack on Obi, I don't know where it stems from. He will say he's the one that recommended Obi to be vice president candidate to Atiku. Those are not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about things you and I can see. And he plays politics with Nigerians. I think people should delist from listening to Reno. Reno should be, I don't want to say things I want to say on TV. Do you understand? It's psychopathic at the moment.
One of the reasons that has been peddled over the years, it didn't start from Asiwaju. It didn't start from Asiwaju, was that why many governments had wanted to remove subsidy is to reduce borrowing. So by the time they remove subsidy, we would rather be paying for what we are using, paying for our budgets rather than borrowing. Subsidy is removed. Borrowing is still there.
You see, that is why we thank God for the person of Peter Obi, who is always there to speak on behalf of the masses, who has the information to shun out to the public. When you see Reno Omokri saying that Obi is the one lying that is causing investors not to come into the country, one wonders if Obi is the president of the country, because investor does not look at, and Obi is just an individual. He's just a Nigerian who is concerned about the affair and the welfare of Nigeria. So I don't see how an individual who is only saying that, look, who is shouting that there's a problem here, would be the problem itself. So, you see, when, Jonathan Goodluck wanted to remove subsidy in 2012, the people in government today fought tooth and nail to ensure that the subsidy is not removed. And because Jonathan had plans and strategies with which the money that we get from subsidy will be useful, they fought him. Remember the sovereign wealth that was put in place by Goju Wela. It was these same people who squandered that money and Amechi that went to court and all of that. Took out to court. And now, these same people fought their way to become to be in government today. They are in government today. They now remove the subsidy without plans. You see, that is why now that we have removed subsidy, we suffer more, because when you come into a situation and you don't have plan for it, no matter how, for instance, people who come into wealth without plans for it, who do not work for it, they are bound to squander the wealth. That's what we're experiencing. This present government come into offices, they only hear that, Peter Obi was campaigning that he was going to remove subsidy. They will say they will remove subsidy. Without their own plan, they don't have plan. Peter Obi, who said from the word go that I want to remove subsidy, has planned how to utilize the money that he will make from the removal of the subsidy. But these people do not have the plan. That is why he kept telling us that the money is being paid to the state governors. Is that a plan for the subsidy? That is not the plan. That's not a plan good enough. If you have asked Mr. Obi today, what was your plan, he will tell you, but that is for himself, because he's still planning to get into office and see how he can rescue the nation. So when you have somebody who do not have plan, this is what you suffer. That is why you see that even though the subsidy has been removed, it doesn't reflect in the lives of Nigeria, because there were no plan for it in the first place. They heard that they're removing subsidy, so they removed subsidy. And they saw money, and they started, and they squandered the money, giving it to state government, and still go on borrowing, which was one of the problems the subsidy removal was supposed to have solved. You understand? So it is so saddening that, like, I want to agree with my colleague that Omokri Reno should not be listened to, because we know his antecedent. He's fond of approbating and approbating. So he's not somebody you can. He's not a man of integrity. He's not a man of a character. He's unstable. So we shouldn't take his word serious, because in the first place, Obi is not the president. He's not a government. So why will Obi become the problem?
Okay, let me look at this now. It appears Atiku is at the forefront of 2027 case, not taking if we are not misreading all he's saying. Do you think Reno will start attacking him from campaigning for him the last time?
No. Reno will not. He will at a point when we get there. Do you understand? But at the moment, he's directing his vicious attack at Peter Obi.
What if for any reason Obi doesn't run, for example?
No, Obi is the nightmare of the government.
Obi is the nightmare. With his article, is a runover. Now, the thing is that the things that Reno is doing, Reno told us he went to see Atiku recently. And Atiku spoke about Polibe, his attack on him, that even his boss welcomed him with open arms. Now, you see, the things that are happening in Nigeria. I asked one of my friends today, who is a petroleum analyst, an oil analyst. I said, is NNPC a limited liability company? He said, yes. I said, owned by who? He said, federal government, 100%. So how does it become? Who bought shares into NNPC? Because they now put L in front. NNPCL. Limited liability company. If it's a limited liability company, that means they own everything, and people elect, or people are the one that make sure this MD is in charge of this subsidiary, MD is in charge of it. It's a public thing. Do you understand? And all that.
People can subscribe to
their shares.
Their shares are traded at stock exchange.
In stock exchange. Do you understand? And all that. Even maybe list it in a London Stock Exchange or whichever stock exchange, if they are that good enough. But all we hear, the 40-something trillion. I can't remember how much it was.
210 trillion.
That they said it was missing.
They couldn't reconcile.
Have you heard about it again?
No.
It has been swept under the carpet. Where are you looking for it?
It's done. What are some of the problems that we have in this country that we need to look into? I'm not talking about Peter Obi that is saying that this thing needs to be done, this thing needs to be done.
All right. Moving on to the governance, like we're looking at it, a lot of people, not just only people from opposition, have had some reservations, even just ordinary persons, with the way this subsidy was removed. But that said, we believe there's a stability will come at some point, hopefully before 2027, and so that we'll be able to see the results of their mathematics. I'm coming.
If you can give me a chance to speak about that subsidy.
I still believe I'm coming. Yes. Until then, we still believe the removal of subsidy was very chaotic and it was not well administered. But let me come to you on what Sowore was saying. Because come 2027, even 2026, because 2027, our election comes by February. You know, if there's going to be any change in electoral acts, allowing all cases to be finished before being sworn, it means that the election time has to even come backward. You know, because they are trying to push that people should be done with anything about election cases before anybody is sworn in, to ensure that nobody is using government money they are earning from the government to prosecute the opponent. Yes. So, Sowore was just saying that what he sees both in the current government and what he sees in the coalition entities, that there is no hope.
Yes, you know, it is good to to speak the way Sowore spoke. But my only problem with Sowore's statement is this: if you identify a problem, you should be able to provide a solution. But in case of Sowore, he felt there's a problem, but he doesn't want the problem to be solved. That's my problem with him. Because if you analyze his statement, he said those in government today
are not good.
They are not good. And these people who are forming the coalition, they are not good enough to replace those who are in government. So where do we go from there?
I can tell you.
I need
Sowore, party AAC.
I need Sowore to tell him, because he had a party, but he never mentioned that this is where we are supposed to go. Sowore is very comfortable and settled in criticizing and being an activist.
But we can't remain in perpetual bondage. Why
exactly.
So
there should be a solution.
Why remain a perpetual critic?
That's what I'm saying. So yes, you spoke very well. We agree with you.
No, I like his activism.
Yeah, so but give us a solution for crying out loud. Since these people, the coalition are not good, what do you advise Nigerians to do at this point in time?
Let me tell you what Philip is saying. I like Sowore very, very personally. I so like him. You know, the last time he was there, you could see I was really excited. I love his activism. I love the way he stands for people. I love the way he's fearless and all that. I mean, can he present his AAC and call Nigerians to come and join here, instead of moving with David Mark like he was, criticizing, moving with Arofado, moving with Secondus, moving with the likes of, the rest and all that.
Okay, Sowore has told us that the major problem.
His party is so pure that no Nigeria is qualified to choose it.
He said the major problem we have in Nigeria is we have conquered Nigerians. And as a result of that, it's quite difficult to make sure that if you speak this way, they want to follow who they want to follow. And I also agree with the fact that these people that he's talking about that are not good enough to govern, you see, we must see a silver lining somewhere. I don't know if you understand. And you can't fight nature above vacuum. You can't say everybody should go and sit down. Let's continue the way we are. You must provide a solution where we will make sure we take on that solution to try to solve our problem. For example, I listened to Amadi. What's the other name now? That public analyst,
Professor Sam Amadi.
But Sam Amadi said the revolution we need right now is the people's revolution to go to the polls, not revolution like some sort of people are saying. Revolution now. It looks like in a violent way.
We don't want violence.
We don't want violence. Do you understand? And of course, we know that the system are quite. There's a campaign he has launched now, a campaign to pay the police. The remuneration of the police to make it better. He said, I have fought police and I'm still fighting police. He said, but for us to fight a system that has made sure people are captured, we must make sure we make the police remuneration better. They should be paid better. He said the least
they should have a living wage.
The least police person should be paid 300,000 naira.
All right, Philip, our time is fast spent. So just your last shot on today. Culminating from Senator Natasha's removal and how it's disturbing the polity, to the court decision in Edo State and the removal of subsidy and our indebtedness and the sickness all are saying.
To the Senate, I will say to them that if they love Nigeria, they should make their policy stable. They should make their Senate stable, because their action and inaction will determine whether foreigner will come to invest in our country or not, whether they like it or not. They are representing Nigeria and they are working on behalf of Nigeria. They should, give Nigeria a better image before the as international community. To the judiciary, they should be more bold. They should know that they should know that they are the hope of the common man, and that they should know that they are sitting before God, or rather they are God on earth when they sit on that seat to preside over men's affairs. So therefore, when they are presiding in that affair, they should be fearless to give judgment that people will receive and say they will be satisfied that yes, a Daniel has come to judgment in this case, not the one they will give and people will wonder whether this judgment is from the court or not. They should stay away from that kind of action. To Nigerians, they should forget about Reno Omokri. They shouldn't take him serious, but they should listen to those who are working day and night to provide a solution to Nigerian problems so that Nigeria can work for every one of us. To Mr. Sowore, we agree with you. The old dogs, they are not good enough, but we need a solution from you.
All right, that was very long, but it was okay. Just 1 minute. Okay.
Well, I agree to all you said. I start on the existing protocol. You see, Nigerians belong to all of us.
Yeah.
And when they are long gone, wherever they are, they should be seeing Nigeria working and be happy. I've not seen countries or a country that its political elected members have traveled like Nigerians. They go to the West
Every time.
and they see that it is very beautiful. I traveled with a government official before, from where we took off to where we stopped before we final registration. He was following the line accordingly. But when he got to Murtala Mohammed Airport, Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, he left his bag inside the aircraft. It was his aides with government officials that came to carry his hand luggage. Neither did he even show his passport. He walked through. But meanwhile, from Dallas to Frankfurt, he didn't do that. They should learn to respect Nigeria. On their honor, they should stand.
All right, very, very good. In 2015, when Buhari was campaigning, he was campaigning for change. Sure, the mantra was change. And Nigerians felt duped. After Buhari was inaugurated, we started hearing another mantra: the change starts with you. But I think this is the time we shouldn't feel duped. The change should start with all of us who have chosen democracy as our style of governance structure. We should all abide by the tenets of democracy. This is Matters Arising. We culminated with the breaking news, and we culminated with a lot of discussion from our news insights. See you next time, and thank you for watching.